Ike bia kute ya bia zurike ise Yagazie. Igbo kwen ya Igbo kwezonu ya Oko nyamini koko nyamiri koko nyamiri koko nyamiri Igbo bunu ndamamihe Igbo bunu ndamamihe ebuli anyelu ana mabara na ihe dị njọ ma na-emezi konye ofeke ana mabara nụ n'ihe dị njọ ma na-emezi konye ofeke Igbo bụ n'ndike ụmụ Igbo bụ n'ndike ụmụ Igbo bụ n'ndike ụmụ Igbo bụ n'ndike koko nyamini koko nyamini koko nyamini koko nyamini hey cha Igbo kwezonu ya Igbo kwezonu ya ihe ji mara ndị ihe bụ ọrụ aka ha ihe ji mara ndị ihe bụ ihe aka ha ihe ji mara ndị ihe bụ ọrụ aka ha ụmụ Igbo anyị were omenala dowe n'azụ were omenala ndị ọzọ bulie elu anyị were omenala Igbo dowe n'azụ were omenala ndị ọzọ bulie elu ihe anyị na-eme Chineke na ọ dịrọ ọzọ mma ihe anyị na-eme Chineke ọ dịrọ mma ihe anyị na-eme Chineke na ọ dịrọ ọzọ mma ụmụ Igbo anya si na Chineke anwụnugo nuo ewere Chineke dobe n'akwụkwọ a na-agọzi akwụkwọ anyị si na Chineke na anwụnugo nuo ewere Chineke dobe n'akwụkwọ a na-agọzi akwụkwọ ụmụ Igbo ife m ga-ekwuzi ụmụ Igbo bịa n'uchegharịa ụmụ Igbo anyị bịa were Chineke dobe n'azụ were chukwu ndị ọzọ bulie elu anyị were Chineke gbọtọrọ n'ala were chukwu ndị ọzọ. Welcome to another wonderful segment of Chiism Live. I am Dr. Uwa Onyioha Osimiri, Oke Dibia Ochuaja Udee, and I'm your host today. Before we go into any further details about what we're doing today, I think it's important for us to take a moment to just inhale and exhale and be grateful to be walking amongst the living. There are so many people who did not see this day. And I say this all the time. Each day that you have breath is the beginning of your blessings. You know, some of us, we are looking for blessings elsewhere when the blessing is already there. You're inhaling and you're exhaling. That is your blessing. So we need to get in the habit of just being grateful and thanking Chineke for a new month. This is a new month. Many did not see this month. This is the month of September. And how many of you know that there are people who are burying somebody today? So be grateful that Chineke has a plan for your life. There are some things that you still have to do. You got a lot of work to do. And that's the reason why you are here today. So thank you, Chineke, for this wonderful opportunity. Wherever you may be, if you're indoors or outdoors, wherever they may be, may Chineke protect you. May the ancestors put their loving arms around you. Anything that you touch today, it is already destined to be good. Already destined to be good. That is something you've got to believe. Once you tell Chineke what you want, then step back, let the blessings flow. The blessings don't flow because you're standing there demanding it. Just let it go. Just tell Chineke what you want. And today we ask Chineke for life. Long life. Many of us have children. So we need to be here to raise these kids. So Chineke Anarogibiko, long life. And for those of us who are just getting married and looking forward to being a family, Chineke, we ask you to please grant them children. Grant them children so that they can enjoy the joy of their marriage. And those who don't have children, who are not married, it's okay. Chineke, bless them whatever their condition in the world, whatever their situation in the world. Put your loving arms and blessings around them. For the sick, we ask for healing. Those who are sick at home, those who are sick in the hospitals, those who are sick in the street, we ask the loving ancestors to intervene on their behalf, for Chineke to use you to touch them, heal them. Those who are suffering mentally, right their minds, Chineke. Right their minds. Those who have pain in their hearts today, maybe they've lost a loved one. Please, Chineke, intervene and give them the opportunity to heal. Show them how they may heal and come out of the situation they're in. There's nothing more loving than Chineke. More healing, more uplifting. And then you must know that all will be well. Once you believe and put your dreams, your hopes, your ambitions, anything that you put in the hands of Chineke will materialize. In your mind first, before you see it. In your mind first. So today, we know that all will be well with us. We've already asked Chineke for it, and we know we will be granted everything that we want. In the morning, in the afternoon, and at night. And so it is. And their ancestors, thank you for leading the way. Thank you for creating us, because we are here because of our ancestors. And the reason why we honor you is because we understand that without you, we will not be here. So thank you, all of you, wherever you are. Yagazie. Now I want to bring in my co-hosts and just say good morning before we even start on the lecture of today. Dibia Ochuaja.
Agunsi. I think there's no doubt that our ministry has the right leadership. So that makes me sleep better at night. We wake up, we work hard, we do all we have to do. We've been at this game for a long time. People don't know. But we've been on the internet since 1997. So I do want to take this opportunity to thank you for your strength, your zeal, and for being a worthwhile partner in this journey to re-civilize the African mind that has been colonized for so long.
Yagazie. Dewo, and I want to add Dibia Chiedozie Okoro.
Oh Lord.
Good evening for me here, the veterans.
It's evening for you.
I've been in it for some time too. I think I joined in 1994. Since then, I've been into Pan-Africanism. At the point, I just hoped that there wasn't any Pan-Africanism anymore. So I entered into African philosophy. But I'm back here again, joining you in the mainstream. It's good to be Chineke.
Yagazie. And I want to add our dear Dr. Monet.
Hello. Thank you. Thank you for today. Today's my birthday, so
happy birthday.
I'm just happy to see another. I'm 44 years old, so 44 years old. My birthday. I'm just happy to be here.
Congratulations. We're glad you were here and wishing you more fruitful years ahead of you. This is just the beginning.
There's a song that we sing for our birthday, not happy birthday. That's not ours. What we sing is Amurani Wankanudo. Enyerani Wankanudo. Chineke imela anyekele gi. Gozie kwaya. Nyere ya ka nye ya ogologo ndụ. Amurani Wankanudo.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
They gave us this child in peace and love, and we are so grateful to have you. Bless you, bless you.
Yes, and thank Chineke and the ancestors.
Yes.
Thank you.
I would like to thank all those individuals who are joining us today, wherever you are. And some of them are saying happy birthday. I just want to show you. Ukuna Charles says happy birthday. Vicky Nettles Jenkins says happy birthday. Akachi Azubike says happy birthday. And of course, Ukunda took a little step further. I'm wishing you many more returns, long life, and prosperity.
Yes.
And that is what you're going to have. Long life and prosperity. Yes, you have.
I just want to point out something real quickly. Nothing to do with birthday, but I'm actually addressing Ukuna Charles. You notice Ukuna is now Ukuna Ugochukwu.
Yes, I love it.
Very proud of him. I love that. He is no longer Toby. He is now Kunta Kinte.
Yes.
Yes. It's now Kunta Kinte.
I love it. He did it. I love it too. Bless your heart. It's a slow process, you know. People are given names by their parents for the most part. Then as you go along, you determine, okay, how is this name working for me? You know, how is this name working for me? So he decided that what's going to work for him is going to be is something else. And Lady Soldier says, I say that all the time. Yes, you do. Yes, you do. And we hear you. We hear you. I'm here. So I just want to recognize those people who are here today. Thank you all for joining us. And, you know, we have a little lecture today. And the title, as you can see, Are African Gods Inferior to Other Gods? Are African Gods Inferior to Other Gods? So I'm going to take the rest of you out so I can bring up my little PowerPoint because I'm the one doing the lecture today. And then we'll take it on the other side at the end of my lecture. Then we all have a discussion about it. Yeah, it's a fascinating subject that we're going to talk about today. And African gods inferior to European. When I say other gods, obviously, I'm talking about the European and Arab gods because that's who we have adopted at the unfortunate expense of our own spirituality. So when you ask the question, are African gods inferior to European Arab gods? It all truly depends on who is asking the question and who's answering the question. Before we even go there, let us be reminded that a lot of the reasons why many of us have adopted that notion that possibly these other gods are better than ours is because we've been convinced that ours are bad. And anything that is associated with us is bad. So our God must be bad. Anything associated with our ancestors, so whatever our ancestors gave us must be bad. And so if we identify with that which is good, quote unquote, then, you know, we're better humans. We can't go back to, I had a conversation with Akachi about this. You know, many of us do ascribe to the fact that there is, that our gods are inferior, because we see our ancestors as inferior because of the designation by others that the ways of our ancestors are negative. And that's quite frankly why many of us will not even, poor libations, don't even want to call up the ancestors. They get infuriated when you do that. That is a backward routine, they think, because it is honoring that which is negative. It's honoring your negative ancestors. So you don't want to do anything like that. But when these foreign religions came on the land and told you your way is bad, well, you do everything that, you know, it doesn't even matter if you have a PhD. It doesn't matter if you have triple crowned PhD. You still have to adhere to that, because that brings you closer to what is right, what is true, what is good, and pulls you away from who you are. So the question then, it depends on who is asking the question. The person who's asking you the question, are African gods inferior to other gods? They assume then that they are different gods. They are different gods. They're not talking about one God. They're talking about different gods. So when they ask you as an African, is your God as good as my God? Your God is not considered, it's not put on the same shelf as their God. Yours, we have to find out, what do you think about your God? Your God. Because it's not like our God. So are your gods as elevated, as important as ours? The tragedy is that the people who are answering the question are the people who, and I'm talking about our pastors, all these individuals who are feeding the minds of our people in church pews every single day. You know, I'm going to tell you very honestly, some of you may get upset today, but that's okay. See, what comes out of my mouth is what God put in my mouth. Chineke speak the truth. Nothing hurts the soul than not speaking the truth. So if at some point you get angry with what I'm saying, I apologize ahead, but I'm still going to say the truth, even if it hurts. So when somebody asks you, is your God as good as my God? If you don't believe that you are good enough, then your God can't be as good as someone else's. You have to run from your God, or at least your concept of God. And quite frankly, that is what is fueling the inferiority complex being put upon our people, is that whole nation. Because let me tell you this, if you take a man's God from him and replace it, supplant it with something else, you render that person useless. You render the person useless, because God is supposed to be a reflection of the good, of the best, of the powerful. So if that image of God is not a reflection of you, you start seeing yourself as less than. So the question you will answer is, no, we don't even have all those gods that we have. You know, this is primitive. But I'm a Christian. I'm a Muslim. I'm a Buddhist. I'm all of this stuff. Bet African. So somebody who's asking you that is asking you because they already know your answer. So the person who's answering, if it's one of us who are buried in these European cultures. Now, please let me back down and remind you, being European is not negative. It's absolutely not a negative thing, because they're part of the human family. People do what they do to survive. They do what they do to survive. If a man can come in your house and supplant you and move you outside, and then you got to beg to come back in, you can't blame that man. You got to blame yourself. So when I'm talking about European, I'm not talking about bad anything. I'm just saying that is their thing. It is not yours. It wasn't designed for you. But you can't hate them for doing what they can do to survive when you allow it to happen. The question you have to ask yourself, do you have the right to survive? And if you have the right to survive, then you should be proud to say, my God is powerful. Now, you shouldn't even tell anybody that your God is better. Just let them know, yes, my God is powerful. Munachi, so I am one with God. That power is with me. I'm as powerful as my God. But if you don't believe that you're powerful, if you see yourself as weak, then your God is weak. Then that question, like I said, who's answering the question? If you say, no, it's backward, it's primitive, then you are saying in effect that you feel that you, your ancestors, your culture is inferior. That's really truly what you're saying. So again, it depends on who's asking. For the most part, those who are asking already assume superiority. They just want to know, what do you think about your God? Your God. And then depending on what your answer is, or depending on how you feel about yourself, or depending on what you've been convinced that you are. If you've been convinced you're less than, of course your God is going to be weak, less. Your God is going to be inferior because that's what you believe. You believe that your ancestors who gave your God to you are inferior. So how can their God be superior? How can their God be comparable to those that you admire? Be careful how you answer that question. But you cannot blame the person who's asking you, because it's your responsibility to answer properly. There are types of definition of God, and I put God in quote because God has different names in different cultures. But I'm going to use the word God because many of us, when we talk about God, that's what we use. When we talk about supreme being, that's what we use. So we're going to break that down. Monotheism is the faith. It's the faith in only one divinity that we call God. That's what monotheism is. But many people don't understand that monotheism has three parts. You've got the one that believes that there's just one God, there's no other. But then you have henotheism. These are believers of one God, but they don't deny anybody the right to worship their different gods. They believe that they are maybe more than one God. But they believe in their own, but they don't deny you the right to believe in yours. That's henotheism. Then you have monolatry. Monolatry, that's all part of monotheism, but it is the belief in the existence of many gods, but with the consistent worship of only one deity. Now, here's the difference between that and henotheism. They believe that they're not going to deny you the right to worship many different gods. They're not going to deny you that. So you can worship whatever. But monolatry says that there is belief in the existence of many gods, but there's just one, only one, that you can worship. So whose report should you believe? Whose report are you believing, my brothers and sisters? Whose report do you believe? A report is something that is used to convince you to do something, to believe in something, to address something, go one direction or the other. You be careful what report you believe. You cannot believe a report that you haven't researched. Most importantly, you must believe in what you have been taught by your ancestors, even if you have to modify it a little bit. The important thing that we must note about the definition of the spiritual being is the culture that defines it. The function of Chineke, or Lodumare, whatever you want to call God. The function, the important thing about how it is defined is based on the culture that's defining it. So if we say Chineke, in our culture, Chi is male, Eke is female. Those are the male and female energies within the creator. So every culture selects and defines its own spiritual being based upon its culture. That is why it's so bad, I might use the expression, to say that someone else's definition is better than yours because yours is based on your environment. It's based on your culture. So you cannot say that another culture is better than yours because you were not born into that culture. It is not your reality. You may go into that culture and be a part of it, but originally the definition of your God comes from your ancestors based on their culture. The foreign cultural definition of God is no better than yours because it's based on their environment, it's based on their culture, and we need to get in the habit of take what you must. Don't throw the baby out with the dirty bathwater. Take what you can get from your culture. Throw away what you don't need, but don't throw away everything. Your dignity and pride and the respect you get from the rest of the world depends on you holding on to something that defines you. He who goes a borrowing goes a sorrowing. It is what it is. When you tell another person that you are less than, how can they respect you? You can sing and stomp and speak in tongues all you want. The person who brought it to you will always feel, listen, look at that. You can never speak out to them. When I went to Nigeria, that was in 2016. I was in Nigeria and we went to the market. The marketplace is in Omaha. It's not there anymore. They have changed it a little bit now. And I think the train, it's a train. It used to be a train track and people started using it as a marketplace, but they moved the people out. And now you have the train tracks have been returned to what it used to be. But when I was there, the train track, they had people, hawkers and, market people everywhere. And I stood there myself. I took some African Americans home with me and I was trying to show them Nigeria and all of that. And I'm telling you, I've never been so embarrassed in my life. When this young man came out of this little van, this white van, I'll never forget it, dressed like Jesus Christ. And his mother and his father were standing there. And our people were running to this little white boy, bowing at his feet, tugging at his clothing, crying, and he's touching them. And let me tell you, that is supplanting. They have already supplanted their culture. And these African people have bought into it. So this little white boy, just a little white boy from England, dressed as Jesus Christ, all they saw was a superior being. They've abandoned their answer at that moment. They abandoned Chineke, chukwu. They abandoned everything that they were taught. And what they saw was the representation of a foreign definition of Chineke. That little boy, that little white boy to them was God. They lost their minds, my brothers and sisters. You should have been there. I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe what my people were doing. This is what happens when you see other people's concept of God as more valid than yours. Cultures define the creator from basic activities that they engage in. Some warring cultures believe that their gods were warriors because they're always warring. So to them, God is a warrior God. So whatever you engage in, you see your God as. You're warring, then God is a warrior God, is all powerful. He conquers. The Greeks used to go to war with their conquering gods. That is because the basic activities, which is part of their culture, is warring. They do a lot of wars. So God is a conquering God. To them, God is war. But this is some of what we are believing, we're embracing. Some look at their history around conquest. So they have a conquering God because this God gives them permission to take lands away from others. Like the Jewish God. They have the permission to go and take lands God gave them the right to do that. Now, you may disagree with me. There are so many aspects of Jewish religion. I'm not going to go into all of that. I just picked something that I thought was very interesting. The nature of God, they may verbally say to you, loving and all that, but they are warring. They are warriors. They ascribe war. Land ownership, because it's their right to grab, to take over. Why are there different contexts about God? Let's look at Christianity. I'm going to make this smaller because I can't see all of this. Okay, hold 1 second. Okay, let's look at Christianity. The Europeans have creatively ascribed God as a jealous God, male, and who must be obeyed with severe consequences when his will is not done. He sent himself in human form as his son to interact with humans, thus the sense of superiority over everybody else, male, female, black, white, purple, green, or otherwise. When people give you something, it is their idea. If you buy into it, then you have to go along with what they've said, whether you like it or not. When somebody gives you their concept of God, and you become so astute, so good, you even start speaking in tongue, try to outdo them. That's what Igbo people say. You know how to speak about other people's way of life, their God and everything, but you don't even know anything about yours. You don't even want to speak about yours. And when you do speak about yours, you speak about yours in terms so derogatory that nobody wants to even recognize the nobility in what the ancestors left for us. Culture is dynamic, absolutely. It changes over time. But what we have done is we didn't allow it to change over time. We just abandoned it along the road and picked up something else. When somebody's God, definition of God is that this God is supreme, and they give it a physical look that looks like them. If you believe that God looks like them, they become God to you. If you're looking for the image of God, look at the Christian image of God. I am not talking about Christianity. Just remember that every religion is good in itself, but it is what they've adopted, what modifications have been added that have been used to make things bad for that religion. That's what we're talking about. Artifacts, images. When the Christian talks about the image of God, it's called image. When they talk about their ancestors, they talk about the images, the angels. But what is yours? They talk about yours in terms of idol worship. Your ancestors are, the images of your ancestors, of Chineke, of God, is idol. And you giving honor to your concept of God becomes idol worshiping, with all the negative connotation that goes with it. Just understand the difference. When somebody gives you poison and you know obviously that it is poison and you're willing to drink it, you cannot get angry. Obuogi, you asked for it. You just don't go, somebody gives you something and you just put it in your mouth. You have to figure out, is it good for me? Would it kill me? What would it do to me? So the whole concept, the image that's presented, the 10 Commandments, if you look at it, is positive. But I'm talking about the practice of Christianity, particularly in the African continent, is negative. If I hurt your feelings, okay, it is what it is, but it's the truth. There are good Christian people out here. There are good Christians doing positive things, but there are those that we close our eyes to. That's the problem. those that are using their Christianity to hurt our people, that's the problem. You have to ask yourself, what's the Gente, listen up, pay attention. What's the What did they say? You just don't just let it in there and just you close this one because you don't want it to go out. It goes in your ear and you close it, you want it to circulate all over your body. You have to ask questions. Be careful what you internalize. The world is a Serengeti. I say it all the time. Survival of the fittest. Those who want to survive will sell you anything to take your mind over, to take your land over. And as long as you're dreaming of a place that does not exist, no, it does not exist, my people. Tell you the truth. As long as you spend time dreaming of a place that doesn't exist, they will take anything from you. But you can't get mad though. You have to ask yourself, what role are you playing? What role are you playing? Whose report shall you believe? Islam. Allah, to the Islamic faith, is God. And he has no partner. Nothing is like him. He is the creator. He was not created, not a part of his creation, nor is he a part of his creation. In other words, God to Islam is not nature, because he can't be a part of what he created. Nature was created. Listen, for those of you who are Muslim, you know more about your religion than I do. So I'm not here to talk about your religion in depth. I'm going to get to talking about my religion, but I'm just pointing out some of what we know or you share with us about your religion. There is no other entity in the whole world like Allah. So it doesn't matter what you believe, my dear African people. And in they believe in the Bible that says that you're descendants of Ham, and the curse of Ham is upon you. Not Ham himself, but Canaan, his son. The Canaanites were always punished in the Bible. And you are part of that. So they all believe that. You're a cursed people. So when they see you, you're not even human. God cursed you. Go and smite the Canaanites. What do you think? What do you think if they begin to smite you? Why are you upset? Because you bought into that. You don't even challenge it. You don't even say Chineke ekweli honjo. You don't even say Chineke ekweli honjo. God do not accept anything this bad. You just eat it up. You have a book that's telling you that you're cursed, and you buy into it. Now, I'm sure there may be other, and I didn't bother to go through all of that, but there may be other explanation of this your cursed descendant, Ham and the Canaanites and all that stuff. But the point of the matter is that when you go to church every day, have you ever stopped to argue with the pastor that there's something wrong with that? Why are you the cursed one? But Islam believes that. So when they swooped into Africa and started killing you, you're cursed. The Holy Book says so. The Christians didn't bite their tongue killing you. You're cursed. Everything about you has to be squashed. But you mad at them. I say, I want that. When a child washes his hands, he can dine with the answers. We're grown now, people. Can Africans just become adults for a change and stop? When people tell you you're born again, what do you think that means? These are all the little things that are used to keep your mind childlike. When you're born again, you're starting again, you're a baby, you're an infant. Your mind has to be developed. So when they make you an infant, then they start putting all these things in your, say, yeah, I'm born again. Born again with what? Were you born again that now you realize who you are, that you're a proud African person? Is that how born again you are? Or is it now that you're an infant that has to be trained? You're cursed, so you've got to be born again. You can't be the original. People, please. You got to be born again. You know what I'm saying? Slough off your old ways, your old body, your old culture, all of that. Become new, fresh meat. But we don't know that. And we're not even trying to know that. Many of us are not. Buddhism. In Buddhist religion, there is no divine creator, God, or supreme being in the Buddhist teachings. So that Buddhism is often called a non-theistic religion, because they don't believe in religion. So because of that, most Buddhists are not going to be out there arguing with you whether your African God is higher or not, because they don't even believe that. The historical Buddha was human and began his life as an ordinary citizen who learned, who became enlightened and learned about human existence. So they're not focused on whether your God is right or not. But those other two I've talked about, yeah, because their God is the true God. So your God cannot be true God when they already have set up their own God. And if their goal is to remove you, I'm going to remove this banner. And if the objective is to pry you away from your God, then they're certainly not going to honor yours. They're not going to honor yours. Native American. The Native Americans are very similar to the African spirituality. They're not going to argue with you whether your God is different, your God is better or not. Native Americans see nature through what it gave them. Animals for food, land for cultivation of food, and they see as nature's force, and thus nature is greater than them. Nature is something that they have to preserve, they have to take care of, they have to love, they have to respect. They see nature as God, as aspects of God that must be honored and respected. But unfortunately, many of them have had to abandon that spiritual tradition and have adopted all these foreign ones. And you know what? To belong. To belong. So what we're experiencing as African people is they're experiencing the same thing. They've got to belong. They want to belong. So they have to let go to their own detriment. Egypt, ancient Egyptians. Many of you may have known, I'm sure, know about the 47 declarations of innocence or negative confessions. They respect the power of the gifts given to them, given to humans for survival as their source of reverence to the Creator. So when they say through these confessions, they pledge not to abuse anything that represents God to them. They don't say thou shalt not. In other words, thou shalt not is something you should not do. And that's something that man determines is right or wrong. But the negative confessions, they talk about what they have not done. So your goal is not to do certain things. And if you are, the confession is, I have not stolen, I have not defiled, I have not done anything. I don't have that list with me, but if you go and check out the negative confessions, they talk about what they have not done, not what man said they shouldn't do, but what they believe that this is, the world was given to us to nurture, to use for our own good. This is what our Creator has done. So we must not defile it. So the confessions is not about what you should not do. Thou shalt not do this. Because some of the thou shalt nots, people do it because it's part of their culture. So thou shalt not is, there are certain things that many of the commandments are natural. They exist in every culture. But some of them, people do it. So when you say thou shalt not, it means nothing. But if you see nature as something that's given to us by the Creator to nurture ourselves, to heal ourselves, to take care of ourselves, to feed ourselves, then you don't want to destroy those things. You don't want to destroy those things. And that is it's more detailed than that, of course, but given our time frame, I can only go so far. What do most African cultures believe about God? There are so many religions out here, and I don't have the time to go through all of it. But Africans believe that God is embodied in their environment and everything in it with different names ascribed based on their reverence. Some people believe that God is a healer, so they give God the name of a healer. Some believe God is male, female, chi na eke, female and male energies necessary for life creation as a source of good in the world. Some believe all kinds of different reasons to give a particular name to the creator. And again, going back to what I said earlier, it all depends on your culture. For the most part, your culture determines what God is to you and what you call God. Our ancestors have been told differently. When the new religions were introduced, they were told that their way was wrong. And guess what? When you're told that your way is wrong, you start believing that you're wrong. You start believing that you're less than. And that's what has happened to us. We feel that we're less than. For us to measure up, we have to abandon so that we can measure up. I want a good Christian man. Pardon me. I want a good Christian woman. Not I want a good African traditionalist, because that's going backwards. You want to go up. You want to climb the mountaintop, and to do that, you got to be all of this foreign everything. So now I'm going to talk to you about, pardon me, I'm going to talk to you about the ontological structure of Chineke. Ontological. In relation to the forces of nature, because our ancestors believe that everything in nature is an embodiment of the creator. We don't see Chineke way up in the sky somewhere. We see the creator in everything. Everything good, everything designed to make us. Hold 1 second, please. 1 second, please. I do apologize. My grandson was busy with his music player, so it was sort of disruptive. So pardon me for that. So our ancestors, when we talk about the creator, we're talking about what we see in nature. We ascribe as aspects of the creator. And that is why our people do work very hard to ensure that they respect and honor the creator. They respect and honor nature. So what they've done is to departmentalize the creator by departmentalizing the forces of nature as aspects of the creator. The sun, they see as the head. Now I'm talking about the Igbos, okay? Now that's one of the things that's so critical that we understand. When you speak of Chineke, make sure that you understand that there is a diversity of thought. As I indicated, culture, even though we're Africans, our culture is different. And the diversity in culture also affects how we look at the creator. The sun as the head of Chineke, omnipresence, omnipotent, and immortality. That's why the sun is called Anwu Anwu, which means that it never dies. Next to the sun is the Ofonogu, which is a symbol of truth and conscience. And that is part of the conscience of humanity. And God, Chineke, is part of conscience. Then we have, next in the structure, we have Agunsi. as the spirit representation of the wisdom of Chineke, to which traditional medicine practitioners devote their divination and the work that they do. It is so important when you hear what I'm saying to you about the divination, I mean the ontology, okay? When we say that monachiso, that I'm walking with the creator, the departmentalization is in the form of the human. We are all part of this nature. And Chineke, if we say Chineke is in me, I am one with Chineke. That's why when we departmentalize it, it seems like we're talking about the forms of human. The head, the spirit, the wisdom. Human beings have wisdom. We have spirit. So Chineke in us, Agunsi, is a representation of the wisdom of Chineke, which we have, which Chineke has given us. Most of us don't use it. And so when people are doing divination, this aspect of God is what they call upon. Oh, I should have made this better. Then next is Kamalo. Kamalo representing the forces of the sky. Rain, thunder, lightning, wind, storms, moon, and stars. It is likened to the slapping arm of Chineke when we slapping arm when God is angry. This is if your Yoruba is Shango or Sango in Yoruba, and Ekpenyong if you're Efik or Ibibio, okay? In our metaphysics, that is what it's called. But Ghana has its own. Sierra Leone, South Africa, every African nation have their own name for the creator. But I'm giving you the ontological structure of the Igbo concept of what God is. So when somebody says to you, is your God superior to my God or inferior to my God? The question you have to ask yourself then is this: are you inferior? Is anything superior to nature? What's superior to nature? If our concept of God is based on our understanding of nature or our relationship with nature, then in what way is someone else's God that has a human form superior to your God? I'm gonna continue. We're gonna have part 2 of this lecture next week. So because I want to stop right here and bring in my colleagues, if I may say, call them that, and have them share their thoughts on what I've said so far. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to start with that for now. That's part 1. Part 2, I will finish next Sunday. What are your thoughts thus far?
It's an imperative. The lecture is. It's something that is necessary because there's this misconception or this continued discussion about superiority of world religions over one another. Which came first, the egg or the chicken? Mm-hmm. And those people that consider the chicken or the egg, whichever one you choose, you now feel that that's the standard that needs to be set. And also the fact that there's this general understanding in Abrahamic religions, because they're usually the ones that go about trying to convert other nations or other peoples to their faith, for reasons of control and the economic ambitions. So all Abrahamic religions, of course, believe in monotheism, believe in one God and all that kind of stuff. And it's not really the way they present themselves. They don't present themselves talking about henotheism or monolatry like you were talking about. It's just a question of taking away somebody else's spiritual view, what they believe, that history, supplanting it with yours just for the purpose of control. Now, as far as Africans are concerned, we understand what happened to Africa. We understand colonization. We understand the slavery, the Middle Passages and all that. We also understood that before the European enslaved the African, Muslims already did that. As a matter of fact, they had already enslaved 40 million Africans before the Europeans even started with the slave trade and all. But the idea is simply to make sure that you're completely and totally conquered. And to conquer you is not a physical thing. Of course, you can you'll be beat down physically so that they could get to your mind. And once they get to your mind, it's over for you. They don't start off this whole conversation by asking you for your opinion. What do you think about Jesus Christ? What do you think about the Jehovah or Yahweh and all that stuff? What do you think about Allah, Muhammad? They didn't ask you that. They came in with a gun. They came in with a sword. The idea, through a policy of blood and iron, is to get to your mind. But to get to your mind, they first have to break you down physically. Mm-hmm. They first have to tie you to a tree, pull your shirt down, whip you, and tell you that your name is Toby. And you said, no, I am Kunta Kinte. They whip you. Your name is Toby. No, I am Kunta Kinte. And they will continue to physically abuse you until you change your name from Kunta Kinte to Toby, from Ngozi to Blessing. Mm-hmm. You start answering Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. Throw Thursday in there too. It's all good. It's fair game until you forget, lose everything about yourself, and start justifying your worth by the standards that they set for you. For you to now feel good about a human being, for you to gain acceptance from your master, you now have to deny yourself who you are, your history, your culture, your religion, those things that primordially defined you before the European came to our shores with the Bible, or the Arab came to our shores with the Quran. Those things that defined you, they took it away. As a matter of fact, there was always this thing about never sit on the same level with a black man or a black woman. Always make sure that when you come in there, that they're sitting on the floor and that you're sitting in the chair. Funny enough, the Japanese adopted the same principle for the European. When the European came to Japan, the European was always on the floor and the Japanese was always on top, sitting up, showing their superiority, trying to keep you at bay to make sure that you're not getting any funny ideas. But when the European came to Japan, he didn't come with a gun and the sword. He didn't. He came to people that were a warring nation, a warring people. That was the difference between Africans and the Japanese and Europeans and anybody else. We were not about the warring part of the thing because of our spirituality. We welcomed everybody. We never had any ill feelings against foreigners when they came in. We broke bread with them, broke cola. We did everything to welcome them. Then they took advantage because of our good spiritual nature. But this is the 21st century. There's the internet. You can see reality and compare it with what the religion is telling you. Mm-hmm. Compare it with all the crooked preachers out there. Compare it with those people that are telling you to do one thing while they're doing something else. Compare it with people that are not practicing what they preach. Compare it with people that insist that they are the only monotheistic religion in the world, that everybody else is inferior. You compare yourself, you try to justify your worth by Abrahamic religions that tells you that you're worthless, that you're hated, that you're cursed, that you're inferior, and you embrace it. You define yourself through their squint eyes. And then you come around as a black man or woman to complain. You don't like your hair? You don't like your lips? Oh, it's too thick now. Before the European came to Africa, did any African ever consider their lips too big? Did you ever consider your nose blunt? Did you have a problem with your hair, especially the ladies? Mm-mm. For us, we get to a certain age, we lose our hair, now we're bald. Look at that. All right, so now you know. They defined you. You walk around unhappy, hating yourself, self-hatred becomes your modus operandi. And then economically speaking, what do? As opposed to thinking on long-term economic terms, you're looking to wear things that makes you feel like somebody. So you buy the foreign cars. Even though in Nigeria right now, we have innocent motors that make cars. They make cars in Ghana too. Kenya is not making cars too. But the most prominent of them all is innocent motors in Nigeria. But instead of us buying that, we want to buy a Toyota because something foreign makes us feel good about ourselves. The way we have adopted things economically that is foreign is the way we've now adopted religion that is foreign. Either one is not going to do us any good because buying foreign cars is not going to do anything to your economy. But buying local cars will improve your economy and employ people. So we need to really look at ourselves in the mirror and understand that we are backing up the wrong tree. Our salvation is about inflection, looking inward, looking at our history, finding out what we've contributed to civilized behavior, changing our educational system so that we could at least act like there's something about us that is worth flaunting to the rest of the world.
Yagazie, we have powerful points you made. I hope people are paying attention. I'm going to go to Dr. Monet before I go to Dibia Chiedozie because Dr. Monet has to leave at 11:30. She has another job that she does. So we thank you for joining us when you do. So what are your thoughts? You unmute yourself.
Are African gods inferior to other gods? And that's the question. And the answer is African gods are not inferior to other gods. And the way that Chineke has been using me, I've been doing my work, and lately, Chineke has been using me when I've been doing my sessions with people and things like that, have been showing me the person where they are spiritually and their communication with Chineke, how they most effectively communicate with Chineke. So when we're saying inferior or superior, it's about how do we connect personally with Chineke? Can we see Chineke anywhere we are? Do we hear Chineke where we are?
Mm-hmm.
I saw an individual, so interesting to me. When I went in there, because I look at where they are spiritually, I asked Chineke, I asked the ancestors, where are they at? How do they communicate, or what is their interpretation of the divine? And so I saw her, and I noticed she was earthbound. So how she connects to the divine is through nature. And she said she related to that. And she also said, because I said, well, you probably have been confused all of your life because most interpretations of Chineke is, outside of yourself. The European concept of connecting with God or Chineke or Olodumare is outside of, it's not, it's not in nature, but what I was telling her and what came up in Chineke allowed me to understand was Chineke communicates with her through the nature forces.
That's right.
So with her, I told her, I said, in order for you to most effectively communicate with Chineke is by connecting with nature, connecting with animals. And she understood that. She understood and related to that. It was confirmed to her. I saw other people, and I can see Chineke will show me how much of they're in their feminine and how much they're in their masculine energy. And so when I saw, because nature forces has to do with the feminine energy of Chineke, the earth energy, she didn't have as much masculine energy. But other people I've seen, I will see more masculine energy, or I'll see a balance. But we have to understand wherever we are in our spirituality, however it is that we are communicating with Chineke, we must know that that path and that direction is how Chineke wants to communicate with us. I call it our spiritual thumbprint. Because just like any other mother and father, they communicate with each child individually. So Chineke was trying to relay that to me, and I was, sitting and speaking and meditating on Chineke, and Chineke said, I'm transitioning into more of an internal, concentrate on my internal divine Chineke energy. So we must know, and that can change how we're communicating or how Chineke and the ancestors are wanting to communicate with us. So we can't go and say, just because it's the status quo, it's the most popular thing, I'm going to communicate with Chineke, I'm going to have a relationship with Chineke the way in which I feel that I should have a relationship with Chineke.
Mm-hmm.
We must understand that that's a higher level of spirituality. That's a higher level of connection with Chineke, Divine Mother, Divine Father. We must know how to come, just like we know how to come to our elders. We must know how to come to Chineke. We must, and that's respect, having that respect.
Yes.
So if you grew up in Islam or you grew up in Christianity, I grew up in Christianity, but Chineke said, no, you're not going that path. I knew nothing of any other path when that decision was made, but I knew my prayer was, I want to know the truth and I want to have an intimate relationship with Chineke. And I've always wanted to know the God of my ancestors. And so we must understand that we cannot just box Chineke into one box. And the interpretation of how Chineke wants to show up in our lives, we cannot say this is the only way.
That's right.
This is the only way. If you're Muslim, I deal with people of all different religions, and it works. It works the same for no matter what the religion is. It works. Right now, that may be that person's spiritual path, but be open to change that based on what Chineke wants you to do. So we must understand that there is not our, and this is what we're here for with Chiism Live, is to introduce a new path that you may not have known of, and a path that Chineke may want you to go on. That's even right. Though you're Muslim or Christian or whatever belief system you may have, this may be the path that you need to hear, be able to hear Chineke.
So it is.
So we have to be open. We have to be open to that. If we really want an intimate relationship with Chineke.
Yes. And
get out of tradition. Just because your mom, your dad, whoever, that doesn't make it right. If the way that they worship or the things that they were taught, just because they did it that way doesn't mean that is meant for you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. Wonderful. Dibia Chiedozie. So far, go ahead, please. Wonderful. Wonderful.
Yeah, I so much love the lecture because so far, well said, well said. Kudos to all of you. Kudos, kudos.
Yes.
It's good to rub minds together. You gather further perspectives into what you know, sharper perspective, broader visions. uh, I pick out two basic things here. One, the first message is that for traditional Africans, Asian Africans, they were not polytheists. They were, in fact, monotheists.
Yes.
But monotheists with plural perspectives. So when the Europeans came here, they interpreted, the Arabs and the Europeans, they had gods. We didn't have gods in Africa. They had, for them, the planets were gods, Saturn, Jupiter, and all these were gods to them. They were not gods to us. They were, and so what they call gods, they misinterpreted their own worldview into ours, using the European Arab lens to look at the African worldview. And that's where the confusion arises. Okay, that's where the confusion came in. And they have transferred that to us today through the schools, through the churches, through the mosque, through the media, such that even as Africans, we are using foreign lenses to look at our own culture. And this is a problem of alienation. And the problem of alienation is mental poisoning, whereby you begin to loathe and hate what is yours and like what is others. You look at your own homestead, what is in your house, the soup in your house, in your pot in your house, the meat you are using the other man's way of looking at pot and soup in your using it to look at the very own material in your own house. And so you are not yourself. That's the problem we have. That's one. So most of what you call gods are the hierarchy structuring, categorization of God, hierarchization of God. That's one. Then God's divinities, his messengers. That's another. And so we didn't call these gods. They are either part of the hierarchy categorization of God or the divinities, messengers of God, the departmentalization of God by the deep structures of nature. That is one. Two, our spirituality gives what I call a holistic solution to religious bigotry, religious war, religious crisis. Because if you go by Islam and Christianity, we will always war forever. Before I came into this program, I was watching an Indian movie, and every Indian blockbuster movie is about the strife between Muslims and Hindus and Sikhs in India. And usually, the Muslims always want to take back a pound of flesh. So the detectives, the armed forces are always trying to preempt the Muslims from Pakistan or other parts of the Muslim world from trying to kill Indians or try to scatter the cities in India. So you see, and one of the statements made by one of the actors when the movie was about to finish said, how he wishes there's only one God in the whole world, there will be religious conflict. And the other actor replied, even when we have one God, one religion, us human beings will always find one way or the other to quarrel. And I said, it is because you are looking at it from the either Christian or Muslim perspective, by which we insist that only the way you see God is right. The other way, person's way of looking at God is wrong. And that is what I call absolute monotheism. And actually, Christianity and Islam practice absolute monotheism, by which they not only insist that there's only one God, they insist that their own way of approaching that God is the only true way. Any other way is not recognized.
Yes.
Christians will talk down on you for colonization. They got a priest to persuade us, use psychology on us, and kill our spirit, power our spirit, capture our spirit. Then they got the administrators to conquer us using force and education. For Islam,
Yes.
they go on outright annihilation and strangulation. That is because they insist, like Christianity will say, Christ is the only way. And like they sing, all other gods are yet God. Only Jesus is the true way. But for Islam, it's a primary dole, finality. There is no God but Allah. And Muhammad is the last of the prophets. So revelation stops at Islam. Any other thing that comes after Islam or before Islam is annihilated. And so it's the highest level of absolutism. Now, our spirituality gives us a solution to absolute monotheism. And the simple solution is one God, but not one way.
There you go.
Whichever way, one God, not one way.
Yes.
That whichever way you choose, it must edify humanity. And that is where that when we talk about Ofonogu being the second grade, the second hierarchy in Chineke, conscience and authority. You can't exercise authority, power without conscience, innocence. So whichever religion you practice, it must have within it humanity. If humanity is not pronounced in it, then it is not true spirituality. And for this humanity to be complete, it must have, like Dr. Symona said, and like all of you have said, it must have both masculine and feminine energy, feminine and masculine. Everything that is in humanity, that edifies humanity, must be present in it. And so when a religion goes to kill people in the name of God, it is no longer a humanistic religion.
That's right.
Because you cannot take life that you did not create on behalf of God. You cannot go and kill other people on God's behalf. It's your own mission.
That's right.
The message is clear. The message is clear. Spirituality is about your conception and perception of the almighty force. That's right. The cosmic force. And so our ancestors understood it in a perspective. They conceived it, perceived it in a particular way, and they made a covenant. They made a covenant of with cosmic force in their own way. And today we are revolting against that covenant. And we know what happens when you revolt against a covenant. Then you will just have to suffer in perpetuity. That is the problem we have today as Africans, because we have revolted. We have been trained, programmed to revolt against the covenant which our ancestors made with the cosmic force, which is their own way, their own perception, their own conception, and we revolted against it. We've been programmed to revolt against it, so we are suffering in perpetuity. So you look at all over the world, we cannot gather force, we cannot master force as a group to move.
Yes.
It is difficult for us. And that is why everywhere you go, you see that we are made a laughing stock of. We are eliminated everywhere in the world. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And when our people, when we speak of Chineke, and that to me, what I love about the internalization of Chineke within, what I like about that, it puts the responsibility of doing good on me.
Yes.
Not outside of me. We have a song that we sing. Adimocha n'ime obi m, dịkwa nsọ n'ime mmụọ, gịnị ga-eme ka m dị ndụ ghara ịgara chi m ozi. I am good in my heart. I am pure in my soul. There is nothing that will keep me from doing Chineke's work. When I say there's nothing that will keep Chineke from doing work for me, I'm saying there's nothing that will keep me from doing Chineke's work. In other words, you put the responsibility, the onus is in you to do good. You've been given everything that you need to work. You understand? To edify Chineke. You got everything there. It's not for you to sit back and say, Chineke, come do for me. Okay, I've got what you gave me. Now there's nothing that's keeping me from doing the work that you want me to do. We're going to be right back. This is very interesting. I will be right back. An improved website.
Hold on. Yeah, you. Yeah, you. Wait, has it occurred to me that you still haven't subscribed to this channel yet? You haven't subscribed, you haven't followed the Facebook, you haven't checked out the website, nothing? No. Hold on, you're missing out down here. You're gonna have some fun. But big shout out to everybody who has been watching us for a long time. We've been doing this for years. We've been doing this for a long time, and this is the biggest we have ever reached out to people. And I do appreciate for everyone who watched the video to the end. It really helps us. We try to give out wisdom and information every single day. Much love to everybody. Make sure to follow the Facebook. Make sure to check out the website and the YouTube. We post 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can't miss that. Have a beautiful time. You have a blessed day. Wonderful day. Peace.
You know, I have to add this. One of the things that makes spirituality very personal to the African practitioners is how they use their understanding of God helps them to preserve nature, honor and respect nature. There's a tree. It's not the Iroko. I don't know what this tree is called. And Chiedozie, I don't know. Dibia Chiedozie, I don't know if you know it. There is a tree. And I will find the name because when for next week to conclude my presentation, I'm going to find out the name of this tree. This tree is always clean. It's always like somebody always looks at when you see this tree, it's like somebody goes and sweeps it every day. You never find one leaf. Do you know what the tree is?
The Akilu, Bitakola tree.
No, not that. No, it's a big tree. It's a tall tree. It never, it's always clean. You never see a leaf fall. Each leaf, each leaf is medicinal, has medicinal value. So if it drops a leaf from that tree, it never goes to waste. Huh?
There
you go. That's it. Anunebe. A very sacred tree. You don't climb it. You don't go and get the leaf from it. You don't touch it. It gives it to you. It drops it. And when it drops it, that's when you can collect it. You don't put a hatchet to it. You don't do none of that. But each leaf is so important that when it's dropped, that's when you can go get it. But it's always clean. Now, I suppose it's clean all the time because, when the leaf drops, everybody goes to get it, because of the medicinal value. But it always seems like something keeps it clean. Whatever is doing that, the people respect the tree. They honor it. And they give thanks. They even pour libations there. They take offering because what it gives them, they use to heal humanity.
Yes.
You see what I'm saying? There's nothing wrong with seeing God in positive things. And how you will allow yourself to be convinced that doing that is negative, is bad, it's animism. I mean, they give it every name in the book to convince you, even though your way is honorable, even though your way is serving the purpose it's supposed to serve, and you're convinced it's not the right way to do it. So you abandon that. Look at us. Look at us. They said, in an argument, they say to you, use your tongue and count all the teeth in your mouth. You cannot go through life not asking questions.
Yes.
There's a reason why you're being subjected to what you're being subjected. If you're a powerful person, the only way to get you down is not to shoot. Well, they tried the shooting thing, the killing thing, that didn't work. So now the mind is what they went for. And they went for it with their holy books, their fables. And I caution my people, this is very, very, let's be honest with each other. You cannot continue to talk about what people are doing to you or what when you continue to allow it. You cannot deny history. What happened to us in history cannot be, you cannot clean it. I don't care how much you try to hide the history. That's part of our reality. But where do we go from here? Every day gets worse.
Yes.
We're building more and more churches to glorify the very thing that tells us that we're no good.
Yes.
And somehow we think that the future generations will do better. They will not do any better than what we presented to them. Why is it that when a Black person feels as strongly as we do that we're good enough, and I'm not here tearing anybody down, but like Udee always says, comparative studies don't hurt you. You use that to say, what's the difference between what I'm doing and what you're doing? So doing the comparative studies is important. So when we're telling you things you need to pay attention to, you may love okra soup. Maybe that's all you love. Maybe that's all your mama knows how to cook. So you love okra. You don't want to eat anything else, right? But here comes somebody else and bring egusi and say, just taste it. Just taste it a little bit. And if you taste that egusi and it tastes good, trust me, okra is still good, but you want to eat a little bit more of this egusi. New things enrich you. It doesn't mean you abandon, but you can add to it, but you don't have to abandon. You don't abandon okra soup. It's still good. Your mama made it. But egusi is good too. But you don't have to abandon okra. What we've done is everything has become egusi. You don't eat okra anymore. Anything anybody brings, we eat that one. We abandon our own. We eat that one. This is where we are. We take new things and abandon old things. Even old things intentionally designed for us. Our spirituality is the most powerful thing we have. Our spirituality is the most powerful thing we have. If we don't honor it, nobody will honor it. If you're not fierce about it, nobody will be fierce about it. You have a responsibility. Ibunwonye, whose child are you? If your name is Onyioha, if your name is Chiedozie Okoro, if your last name is your last name given to you by your ancestors, it is your responsibility to preserve it. It is nobody's responsibility. See, this is what I'm trying to say. Nobody has a responsibility to make it right for us. Nobody. If you know the truth, speak your truth. If you understand the truth, follow it. Udee. Unmute yourself.
Sorry about that. No, I said you said a mouthful. That's just along the lines, when you talk about comparative analysis, where you have to look at what others are doing and see how it's relevant to what it is that you're doing. You can't just divorce yourself from the rest of the world, right? Whether you're the one being oppressed or you're the oppressor. The oppressor alienates themselves from the rest of the world and world community by insisting on what we call in Chiism, and I'm saying in English, exclusive truth, my way or the highway, right? Your mother's soup is the greatest soup in the world, but the other mothers out there cooking. Funny enough, their own children are saying the same thing. My mom's soup is the best soup in the world, and we all claim that our mother's soup is the best. When you tell people that they don't have the right to worship God in the way they understand best without bitterness, it rumples social harmony. And that is what Abrahamic religions do. Buddhism and Sikhs and, Zoroastrians and Taoists and all these other world religions, they're not really there trying to convert you to their point of view. Some of them don't even believe in God, like Buddhism. It's about the person. It's about how you live your life. It's about how you interact with the environment. It's about how you interact with your fellow human being. They don't sit over here concerned about God. They're concerned about the individual, how you live your life. And in African parlance, the God that you seek outside of Buddhism is in you. Because if you are not concerned about the totality of how the human being interacts with his fellow human being or his environment, you're not going to have these 5 tenets of Buddhism that is concerned with your behavior, not to lie. The funny thing is, we talk about 10 commandments, but you find these same commandments in all world religion. There's no religion in the world that says, thou shalt lie. It's not an Abrahamic thing. It's not a Christian thing. It's not a Muslim thing. It's not about Judaism. It's not about Buddhism. They all have it. What you say. There's no religion in the world that says, thou shalt kill. Oh, it's okay for you to just kill. You want something, they don't give it to you, just kill them. It's not a Christian thing. It's not an Abrahamic thing. It's not a Shinto, excuse me, or Taoist thing. It's part of core human moral conduct that is common amongst all world religions. Thou shalt not bear false witness. There's no religion in the world that says it's okay for you to lie that somebody did something when they didn't do it. It's not a Christian thing. We have that in Africa. We have that in Chiism. We have that in Orumila. We have that in all world religion, Buddhism, Sikhism. They all have those 10 supposedly commandments. Maybe in variations, but it exists. I don't really spend time on that. 10 commandments, people say, well, it's a borrowing from the Egyptian Book of the Dead. I really don't care where it's borrowed from. What I know is from the dawn of time, once man realized that the forces of nature is not his creation, that those things that keep him alive is not of his doing, religion became automatic in him. And as he got a partner, Ifenta, got Ada, then they begat their children and the generations. Once human beings started to interact outside of themselves and had to deal with another human being, those commandments became automatic. And that could date back 100,000 years ago, 200,000 years ago, whenever it is that the first human being discovered fire, decided to protect their own, his family, decided to survive. Once humans started dealing with other human beings outside themselves, those commandments became automatic in their conduct. It's just the way it is. So when people come out and they tell you, the European, the Arab, or whoever, I really don't care what religion is, that what you're doing is wrong. By whose definitions? We know one thing: theologians, philosophers, religious historians, ethnologists, sociologists around the world are all agreed that religion is a universal phenomenon which cannot be given precise or apt definition because of the many varying individual experiences that it names. How you see God is directly related to your history, your culture, and your environment. The Amazonian sees God differently from the Eskimo. If you ask the Amazonian his evidence or her evidence of a supreme being, they're going to tell you about the jaguar. They're going to tell you about the crocodile, the anaconda, the jungle, the piranha. They're going to tell you about all those life-sustaining forces in their environment represents Chineke to them. You ask the Eskimo, he's going to talk about the polar bear. He's going to talk about the ice. He's going to talk about the Arctic fox, the tuna. He's going to talk about those life-sustaining forces in his environment is what precipitates their system of reverence, of God worship. What has happened is that the Eskimo has now gone to the Amazon jungle and told the Amazonian to start seeing snow and polar bears in the Amazon. That's what has happened to Africa. So if we do a little bit of comparative analysis and understand that we're not doing anything different from what anybody else is doing, because our environment, our history, And our culture is directly responsible to how we deal with supplication to the Almighty Chineke. Everybody in the world has a right to seek God in their way, because it does one thing: to understand that nobody controls Chineke. Nobody controls God worship. And if you understand that your fellow human being has a right, as much right as you, to see God in their way, it promotes understanding, tolerance, human dignity abounds, and we will have less wars in the world, because the history of warfare has always been about religion and economics. Okay.
Dr. Chiedozie, go ahead, please. You seem like you want to add to his thoughts.
That was a powerful one. Sometimes I do hope I have your strength. You see, what you just said and what we are talking about, our spirituality, whether we are inferior or superior, is not the question now. The point is that your spirituality determines the totality of your life. That is why if you derail from it, you become uncoordinated, without cohesion, without direction. Your spirituality determines your politics, your education, your science, whether you are going to get to the moon. Yes, everybody, like I used to tell people, yes, water boils at 100 degrees Celsius, but nobody says my laboratory here in Africa must be the way it is built in America or Russia. What matters is that the water, whichever means in boiling, water boils at 100 degrees Celsius. So I can design my physics laboratory to after Kamalo. I don't have to design it the way it is done in America. And so to drag the point home, I thank the light. I'm not saying this because I'm on this program. I'm not saying it to please those on the program, those who have kept it alive. I thank people like Oke Onyioha for keying into what matters about the African, because, and he didn't politicize it, because if he politicized it, we won't be here talking.
Yes.
All the ideas of the Sikhs and the Krumans and Awolowo, we just pay lip service to them in the university. In fact, at my PhD level, I discovered that if we are to follow Sikhs, neo-welfarism, Awo's democratic socialism, Nkrumah's African socialism, Senghor's negritude, we will follow it for eternity, and we will move away from our direction, the opposite way. Because all of them mixed out one thing. Nyerere was the closest. But he said that we in Africa don't need to be taught about the principles of socialism and capitalism. They are already there in our culture. But he missed out the third leg, and the most important, the very particular force binding capitalism and socialism in Africa that makes it communalism. That's African spirituality. Because it is with the African spirituality that you can build communalism. Once you bring a holistic, exclusive religion that is absolutely monotheistic into it, you are not going to have communalism. What is either capitalism, whereby the individual stifles the group, or you have socialism, whereby the group stifles the individual. It is in African spirituality, because of the spirituality of Onye Believe, believe and let live.
Yes.
Society is built for everybody, inclusivity. The woman, the man, the child, the adult, the weak, the strong, the imbecile.
Yes.
That is why the foundation of the society is ubu, respect, reciprocity of respect. Nobody is more powerful than the other. Rather, use your power to enhance the other. Use your power to enable the other. Because in the jungle, the hawk will not dare the eagle. Not even the lion will dare the eagle. Not even the anaconda will dare the eagle. The eagle, whether the anaconda, the python, as long as it is 30 feet long, maybe the longest of the anaconda, say 50 feet long, but no anaconda they are hardly beyond 30 feet long. The eagle will pick it by the neck and carry it high into the sky, 2,000, 500,000 feet into the sky. Lower it down, carry it up. Before it does it 3 times, the anaconda is gone. It gorges the eye up and lacerates the stomach, takes what it wants and abandons the rest.
Yep.
That, because it's a society, the hawk and the eagle must learn how to perch without and now order to perch.
Yes.
So
yes,
that is because our politicians, the first generation of politicians, the Ziks, the Nkrumahs, the Awolowos, the Nyereres, the Sengors, because they missed that African spirituality. That is why we are in the mess we are today. They were talking, floating in the sky, non-aligned movement, blah, 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 blah. That is not our spirituality. They were just a mixed economy. Mixed economy is a mixture of capitalism and socialism with our spirituality. And so it is the marriage of two strange bedfellows. And you know that if you remove African spirituality, where you have capitalism and socialism, say they are like lovers now, what you are going to have is what you call praying mantis lovers. That animal that has one long neck and the head is like a dot on the neck. The thing characteristic about the praying mantis lover is that when they are meeting in the period of copulation, as the male is piercing into the female has the head of the male in his mouth. So by the time the love making session is over, the male is dead and gone. So in the romance between capitalism and socialism, is either capitalism swallows socialism or socialism swallows capitalism. And so when you talk about mixed economy, you are never going to get it right once African spirituality is not there. So that is the essence of talking about African spirituality. With it, we can organize ourselves, we can understand our tones, even though we have different languages, that if we operate within our spirituality, like our ancestors did. If you read about the crisscrossing of migrations and travels in the Sudan up to from East Africa, North Africa, down to East Africa, down to Central Africa, down to South Africa, down to the Sudan, you will discover that they understood themselves by one symbol, Afa, Ifa. Once they throw the symbol on the ground, Nsibidi, it was a secret among them. Once they throw it on the ground, they know the structure, they know what it means, and they know how to communicate amongst themselves. That is the whole essence of African spirituality. Today, with all the languages we speak, foreign language, like Fela will say, we speak Oyibo pass Oyibo, we speak Oyibo pass Americana, but to rule our land, and we will not be governor. With all the grammar we speak, with all the razzmatazz of language, of English, French, we are unable to coordinate ourselves. But our ancestors those days coordinated themselves easily. They knew how to just coordinate themselves. So when we go back to our spirituality, it becomes very easy for us to organize ourselves. We will, within our spirituality, present alternative sciences in medicine, in physics, in chemistry, in astronomy, in the digital age, information technology. We will present alternatives. Because our own concept of the binary system will be a bit different. Our numerology will be a bit different. We will discover new concepts of mathematics. In fact, ad infinitum. What we can exhume from our spirituality is inexhaustible. They will.
They will. I thank you so much. Thank you so much. I wanted to just speak to my brothers and sisters in diaspora, those who live in the United States, those who live on the continent. There's an African proverb that says, when you come together, you become formidable. There's nothing you cannot do as a team. The problem that we have in our spirituality is that there are so many that have been introduced to us, but it has not been able to be used to organize us as one. that we don't operate under any one banner. We have, we say we're Christian, but we have all the different Christianity, blah, 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 but it's still the same thing. It's still something that tells you that you're inferior. Now, let me tell you, I'm going to be honest. We can talk all this stuff about God loves us, all of us are the same thing and all that stuff, as long as we're Christian, we're the children of God and all that kind of stuff. Okay. If you buy into that, then you are as much a problem as the person who's selling you that. Because you must understand the whole principle of the whole thing is to keep you quiet, sedated, and going along. If you love me, if God loves me, then God should love me the way I am, not the more of you that I am. God should love this skin that I was given, this language I was given. If your God loves us all together equally, then he cannot reject that which I am. We need an umbrella. And what I love about this umbrella of Chiism is we honor the diversity of African thought, African cultures, and quite frankly, all cultures. The only thing we fight is when you insult our ancestors by saying that their way was bad and yours is good. We cannot reject our ancestors. African Americans, diasporan Africans, wherever we are, we need to be under one umbrella, because I tell you what happens. Then we have something to go into battle with. If we all come with all our different whatever it is we believe, you know what I'm saying? We will be defeated. Because your mind is here, your mind is here. But if our mind is on this one notion, right where I am, God is. When I see my brother standing there, I say, right where he is, God is. Right where she is, God is God, whatever you call God. But right where that person is the presence of the Most High. I'm less likely to want to abuse him and do, because if I do believe that Chineke lives in him or her, then by abusing him, I'm abusing Chineke. Our thought must be that we are one. The Creator is in us, that makes us one. We always talk about the creation of man as if man is the only thing that inhabits this earth and takes in air. Animals were created as well. If you believe in nature, then God, Chineke, created animals. There must be a purpose for them being here. Even if the purpose is to get rid of things that we don't like, they're serving a purpose. And they deserve our respect. And we can learn from them too. This is the attitude of the Chiist. Everything has value. If we as Black people believe that everything has value, we start seeing value in each other. We start respecting and honoring each other instead of disparaging each other, who's darker skinned, who's lighter skinned, who's richer, who's poorer. Even in our tradition, when a rich man will set out food for those who are less fortunate to be able to have something to eat. Because you're not rich if everybody's poor. Because most rich people like to be surrounded by people who are like them. So you uplift everybody. So we all get, so you can have more people who are closer to you than just you being the rich person. If we learn from animals, Dr. Chiedozie, in the Serengeti, now this is not to say that it doesn't happen. In the Serengeti, the lion is less likely to go after the hyena. You know why? The hyenas stick together. The lion knows, unless he comes with all the pride, that hyena is those hyenas will fight him to release their brother or sister. You see what I'm saying? Because they work in unison. So they're less likely to be consumed by that lion, because that lion knows if I go there, they're going to fight. But look at us. If somebody comes out, there's nothing I find more appalling that one of us is in danger, is being hurt, and we've got the video. We're just videotaping. How can, what strength is that? You know, yeah, it's good to videotape some things, but my God, can we intervene in some way? We see one lonely person beating up on one person and we're videotaping. Oh, I got it on camera. Did you tape it? Yeah, I did. By the time you hand the camera to, I don't know who you're handing it to, that man is dead. In Michigan, I was driving by and I saw these women tearing up their clothing, fighting, pulling their hair, breasts hanging out. They were beating up on each other. And you will not believe the cars that were parked around. The guys were like, ooh, check this out. You know, ooh, I got my video. And they're videotaping these sisters beating up on each other. I got out of my car and I was yelling at them. My God, what are you doing? If you see two people who are doing this, they're not in their right minds. You're supposed to intervene. Separate them. This is not entertainment. One of them could get hurt. That's not what we do. People who have the same spirituality, they don't allow that. You don't allow your sister to be hurt. You don't allow your brother to be hurt. You intervene. This did not exist way back when the warriors were going towards hey, they didn't have this to take pictures of their sister or brother being brutalized. But that's what we do. This is what we have become. This is the mentality we have adopted now. Our spirituality is one of monachiso. I am one with the Creator. We are one with the Creator. We need to go back to that. That is the umbrella that will keep the differences at bay. That will make it so that if we see each other in distress, we step in. Not is he Igbo, Yoruba, Hausa, African American, South African, whatever. Christian, Buddhist, Muslim, all of that. If you're a Chiist, that means you believe everybody has the right to go to God's way or understand. But that's the umbrella. We are each other's keepers. We honor the Creator. And if the Creator is in you, then I have a responsibility to make sure that you're protected. Now, you're not for my entertainment. That is our mindset now. Do like the hyenas. You cannot. I like to watch the animal kingdom, how they operate, because I believe God created them as well. And that's one thing I found so fascinating. You can learn from the hyenas. That's not to say that the lion does not take down the hyena. That's not the point. The lion will. If the lion has the pride with him. But one lonely lion cannot go after a hyena. The rest of them will come fighting. The elephant will not let the lion come and take its little one. They'll stomp on that lion. But us, what do? Because we don't have a coordinating philosophy that holds us together. So we're easily pried away from each other. That's why you can see a bunch of Black people standing there taking videos and their man or woman is being beaten to death. And they say nothing. Oh man, that's not right. You can't do that to, you know he shouldn't be doing that. Oh man, that's not right. I got it on video. What's your video when the person is dying? What I'm saying in effect is we have a responsibility to each other. Chiism teaches us that. We have Madubuchi Beya. We are God to each other. Because if you have God in you, I've got God in me, so we're God to each other. We help each other. The blessings of God flows through us. And that has to be our mindset. We, African people all over the world, it is our responsibility. The people who are in Maiduguri that I'm helping, they're Hausa. I don't care. They're human. They're my people. If I help somebody in the African American community, they're my people. That's not to say I will not help anybody else, of course. But the point I'm trying to make, ladies and gentlemen, when you own something and you lose it, you'll never get rich. Know that. UD is not what Dad tells us all the time.
Where is Yuka?
Yes. That's what you should learn. I hope somebody's hearing me today. When you throw away your culture, you'll never get rich.
I have to apologize. My internet has been going off and on.
Oh, that's all right. That's all right. If you allow your brothers and sisters to be killed and you sit there and watch it, your population goes down. That's your wealth. If you allow your children to be conditioned to not accept who they are, that's your wealth. You're throwing away your wealth. You have a responsibility to bring your family, your children, everybody. You have a responsibility to your people. That's not to say that everybody else don't have a responsibility for their people, but where is your sense of responsibility? Why are you waiting? Why are you fighting to be accepted by others, but you don't want to accept your own? If I may leave everybody today with this notion, this one word, and I hope you all learn it. Akbasa atufo. Let us stop throwing away who we are, what we are, and let us respect our ancestors, respect our God. No God is better than the other. Our God is defined based on our environment and what our ancestors tell us is significant about our God, our concept of the Creator. Time is against us. It's time for us to say good day. Love you all. Thank you so much for joining us. Dibia Chiedozie, as always, what can I say about you? Thank you for being here. UD, thank you so much for your wonderful contributions, all you wonderful souls who joined us today. Thank you for being here. Morris, Ukuna Charles, Namdi, no, Ukuno Gochuku. I get that right. Akechi Azimike, and so many individuals is so interested, and Vicky Neddy, Nettles Jenkins, so many. Those are the people who joined us chiefly. Akimi Bro, of course, those who joined us on Facebook page, and then so quite a number of them joined us on Chiism Live on YouTube. Thank you so much, all of you. Love you, and we will continue this conversation next week as we finish up the lecture series. Thank you. Thank you for joining us. Yagazie.
Yagazie.
Yeah.